introduce you to Sandy from Warrior Foundation so that we will have first-hand information of what they actually do. Sandy?
First of all, thank you all very much for your passion, your patriotism, and for everything that this group makes happen in the community of Chula Vista. I was sitting at a table, and there is so much energy just at that one table. I really think we should just transplant you all to Congress, get it done by Friday, and have dinner on the table. We could do it. But again, I truly want to thank you all for allowing me here today to share just a little bit about what we do for our Southern California injured warriors. The Warrior Foundation was created back in 2004. This is our 10th year of being honored to serve our injured warriors that have come home from Iraq and Afghanistan. On the table, I have placed little flyers that will kind of encapsulate everything that I'm explaining to you. Back in 2004, I was up at the Naval Hospital, Balboa as I call it still. It's Naval Medical Center San Diego now. I was up at Balboa and I was noticing a tremendous amount of injured warriors up on, oh gosh, I think it was building 1, and they were up on about the 5th floor. I asked some of the Marines what it is that they needed for Christmas. This happened right around the beginning of November. And being Marines, they said, "Nothing, ma'am, we're fine." Now I want you to envision this. The guy that said this to me has a prosthetic leg, he's on a crutch, there's pins holding his arm together, and he's got a shelf with his arm on that crutch, but he's fine. I waited till they got in the elevator. I got in the elevator with them and I hit the stop button and I said, "Look guys, I'm a Navy wife, I'm a Navy mom, I know you can't solicit. What do you need for Christmas?" Well, when you corner Marines and corpsmen, Navy corpsmen, they'll tell you. So the one kid stands up as straight as he can and he says to me, "Ma'am, we need the Norelco Cool Skin Razor that dispenses the lotion that has a button in the front. You can use it in the shower." And I said, "Roger that." I said, "I've raised girls. I've got a commander in the Navy and I've got one that works at the White House for National Counterterrorism Center." I said, "Roger that, I raised girls." "Say that again." "Ma'am, we need the Norelco Cool Skin Razor that dispenses lotion. You can use it in the shower and there's a button in the front." I said, "Okay." I knew nothing about this particular razor. I said, "How many guys are here?" And they said, it's a little misinformation back in 2004. They said to me, "Ma'am, there's about 300. I didn't know that this Lance Corporal really didn't have the numbers, okay? At any rate, I went home to my husband and I said, "Take me over to the Navy base. I have to have a little razor class here." And he's like, "Alrighty." So he takes me over and we found out that this Norelco Cool Skin Razor was $89 a piece. And I said, wow, $89 times 300, that's a little bit above our pay grade. So I said, I'll buy 5 of them, I'll wrap them up, and I'll get them to the guys that need them the worst. But you know what? That night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I had a full head of steam, boy. I'm thinking to myself, this country can do better. They need a simple razor. They told me that they had a hard time washing their faces, so the ones with the good arms would wash the guys without good arms' faces. The ones with the good legs would push the guys in the wheelchairs that didn't have the legs. I thought this country can do better. So I contacted, full head of steam, I got online and I contacted Rick Roberts' radio show on KFMB. And I must have hit it just right. The producer came in about 3 o'clock in the morning and answered me. And then I got really scared. And basically, she said to me, tell me more of what you need, what you want, what the guys have to have. So I typed some more out. I told them about how they button each other's shirts and all this good stuff. They said, would you come to the studio? I said, okay. So I wrote everything down. Norelco, Cool Skin Razor, dispenses lotion, $89. Everybody buy one, bring it to the studio, I'll wrap it up, and I'll bring it to the hospital. They said to me, would you go on the air and tell that story? And I'm going, Yeah, my husband's active duty, we're fundraising, we're going to go to Leavenworth. So I called my husband and he said, Sandy, I've been in 28 years, what are they going to do, take away my birthday pay? He said, go for it, as long as my name and my hands aren't on the money, we're good to go. So I walked into the studio and I sat down, and as I sat down, Rick Roberts looks at me and he goes, don't be nervous, dear, there's only 50,000 watts of people listening to you. I thought, there's no bullets, I'm doing this for the boys. In 45 minutes, we raised $68,000. We called each and every one of those people back. Then Rick called Norelco and got the razors at half price. That was in 2004. We are a 501c3 foundation. None of us take a salary. It's been 10 years of no salary. We started out with $68,000. We spent 30 of it. So we started this foundation out with $30,000. Since that time, and with the help of people just like you, all of us in San Diego area, we have raised $11 million, and it all goes to our guys. That's we the people. That's we the people. We work with 4 groups of warriors, the seriously injured that are just coming home, and luckily the numbers are way down right now. About a year and a half ago at this time, we had 312 injured Marines at Balboa. Over 80 of them were double amputees. We are down to 64 today. That doesn't mean they're gone. That just means that they are as well as they're going to be, and they are now looking for places to buy homes, get jobs, raise their children, and I think Chula Vista should be that portion of the country that they stay in. We get a call from the hospital will tell us we've got boots in the air. That means a guy's been mashed in Afghanistan, taken to Germany, and he's in the air on his way to San Diego. Sometimes they stop at Walter Reed and Bethesda due to the nature of their injuries, and then they come on to Balboa. Warrior Foundation, if the government doesn't move fast enough, and sometimes it doesn't, as the Navy gentlemen can attest to, and Navy wives as well, we would find out where mom and dad were, or wife and young children. We would fly them to San Diego, and we would have them standing at Balboa. Meanwhile, their son or daughter is landing at Miramar Marine Air Base, and it's still a scene just like in MASH. An ambulance or a big white Navy bus brings that warrior, backs that bus up to the emergency room at Balboa, and I watched the scene. A staff sergeant, I cry every time. A staff sergeant will climb on board that bus, welcome that warrior home to the United States, welcome them to San Diego, and if need be, sit that warrior up so that they can see their mom or dad at the end of the bus. We provide hotel rooms, rent-a-cars, food, whatever it takes, so that all that mom and dad or wife and young children have to do is worry about getting their warrior back up on his or her feet. That's the best medicine we can offer that man or that woman at that time, and I think our country does a great job doing that. I think San Diego does a great job doing that. That's the first group we work with, and sometimes the first group becomes the second group, the third group, and finally our fourth group. The second group are the guys who have PTSD and TBI. PTSD is an injury that's sustained when they are in an IED blast. Some of our guys have been in more than 7 of these IED blasts. PTSD comes from inside the brain. TBI is something that hits the outside of the head, making an injury. That's the simplest way I can explain it. These warriors suffer from memory loss, and basically they tell us what they need is laptops, voice recorders, noise machines, iPads, and we just recently purchased another 12 iPads, and the hospital has developed, war is bad, it really creates incredible advancements in medicine, however. So we give the iPads to the hospital, and they have created, it's almost like a prescription. So let's say that you are an amputee and you have PTSD. Your iPad is going to receive a prescription of applications on it that deal with phantom pain. Your iPad for PTSD is going to have a prescription of applications on it that deal with memory loss. It truly helps our guys. I mean, the one with the applications for PTSD, it has a GPS on it so that they don't get lost on the hospital grounds. It also has an application that as you're driving home, say you go by a grocery store, it'll open up and say, remember, pick up your uniform, get your eggs, get your milk. I like wanting that one already. So we work very hard to purchase laptops and iPads and noise machines. At the beginning of the war, we purchased, ready for this, Palm Pilots. Remember those? And we purchased the new TV that had VHS and DVD. Now they all have flat screens up there thanks to the government. But that's how far we've come in the 10 years. The third group we work with are the guys that are no longer in a hospital bed, okay? But they are not well enough to go back to their units or their ships or the fleet. So basically, these guys are in a barracks, and they are up there between, it used to be 2 to 4 years, learning to use their new arms and legs, going through physical therapy, doing their military requirements as well as their medical requirements. Some of these guys have had as many as 36 different surgeries. Think about that. You have a surgery, you recover for a little while, you have another surgery, and it goes on. Well, the monotony of that, it gets old real fast. So our foundation is honored to be able to say that we provide quality of life items for these guys up at the barracks area. We have put in cabinets that hold memorabilia for their friends. We have provided a kitchen up on the 3rd deck so that they can cook when they wake up at the middle of the night and they want a grilled cheese sandwich or something. They'll go up to the kitchen and they can cook for themselves. You get some very interesting Thanksgiving dinners that way. We put in a computer cafe. Now they basically all have laptops, so that computer cafe is not used as much as it was, but it's still used. Sometimes it's even used by the wives to help pay their bills and things like that when they need a computer right away. So we provide a lot of quality of life items. There's a blanket on the back table that we provide. One of the first times I walked up in the hospital, there's a young man laying on a hospital bed, a gurney, and I flipped the blanket over and the blanket was older than he was. So I went home that night and we ordered about $4,000 worth of beautiful Marine blankets, Navy blankets, Army blankets, and they're queen size. So these are big men. So, you know, if you've got a cast on or you've got a halo on your leg, a brace of some kind, a twin size blanket doesn't cover it. So we give them a big queen size blanket and they're wonderful and they really love them. So lots of quality of life items like that. When you're an amputee and you finally, and we do have the best, I'm biased, I'll admit it, we do have the best prosthetics creator in the country at Balboa. He can about look at those guys and create the cuff and the leg that they need. And these legs were very heavy at the beginning of the war, and they'd have to learn to swing that leg. So they would put a gym shoe on the bottom of that prosthetic so it didn't weigh much. Well, our guys didn't like that. They were in full uniform, and it was a giveaway if you had a gym shoe on that you were an amputee. 20-year-old man, no way. They want that full military bearing. So one day they were all sitting around and they were talking, and I won't use the Marine language they were using. They had the legs off and they were upside down Amble style and they were trying to force this boot onto this foot. Well, the legs do everything. They rock climb, they swim, they run 26 miles, they do everything except point to go into a military boot. So I'm watching all these guys struggling and cussing and doing really bad things. Anyway, I said to the guys, why don't we just put a zipper up the back of the boot? Well, you'd have thought I told them to tear down the Statue of Liberty. You know, desecrate one of their Marine boots. Took me a while. I took a boot, a real heavy one, and I went to a shoemaker up in Solana Beach, and I explained to him what I was trying to do and what we wanted to do. We have probably created over 6,000 boots. We've gone to an ultra-light boot, and that man has done those zippers for us for $25 each forever. So some guys have 2 boots with zippers because they're double amputees, and some guys have a right or a left leg. But you know what? They put that boot on, they zip it up the back, they blouse down those pants over the top of that, and they're whole men or women in full uniform, still proudly serving our country. The first pair we did went right back overseas to Afghanistan. Garrett went to Afghanistan. So he had his 5 legs in his bag, looks just like a golf bag, and his boots. 3 weeks after he gets back, he writes to me and he says, yeah, metal zippers and IEDs. Okay, roger that. We went to nylon zippers. And so about 3 months after that, he writes back and he says, nylon zippers and sand. We said to borrow soap, WD-40, sewing machine oil, borrow something else, I can't remember all we sent. Sewing machine oil. But you can't call it sewing machine oil, it's boot oil. Works like a charm. Most of our guys with these boots are here stateside. They did not go back overseas. But we do have warriors that are active duty that wear our boots. And we also have wonderful braces now where they've saved the leg, but the guy will have to wear a flexible rubber brace. It's called an Aido brace or something. They're out of Texas. So now what we're doing is we're putting gussets up the sides of the boots and zippers up the back so that they can stay in service, wear the brace, and still have a boot on their leg. So this is something we're proud of. It's another quality of life item that we come up with, and this is just one of many of them. But this is unique to San Diego. They know about it even on the East Coast now. And I'm proud to say we've got a patent pending on it, so it's going to be kind of neat. So this is just one of the items that we do. So quality of life items. We also take these guys out on special events. And what I mean by that is we take them shooting at the American Center for Shooting. And you know, it took me a while to get them to understand that our warriors weren't going to have flashbacks because they were shooting. These are trigger pullers. We put a gun in their hands. They had 70 weapons to choose from, ammo. They got to be inside shooting range. And so as soon as they adjusted to being on their prosthetics and they could shoot again, I'm telling you, our country's in great hands. The spread of bullets was probably smaller than the palm of my hand, even after 2 years of going through recovery. And it really, really helps them mentally. We take them golfing. Golfing is a great thing for these guys. They have to concentrate on one thing. They were football players. They were basketball players. They were rough and ready athletes. They can't quite do that right now. I'm not saying they're not going to do it later, and I explain that to them. But golfing is good. They have to concentrate on one thing. And they're outside, they're in a golf cart, and they're with older gentlemen who have been military, who now have a second career. And half of them get interviewed right while they're playing golf without knowing it. Because it's a tough thing for a warrior who left his home at 18, became a Marine, became a Navy sailor, and he's never gone on an interview. And oh, by the way, now you're getting out of the military, we're going to send you on an interview and you're going to do it without your legs for the first time. Makes a difference. I said, you've already had your interview with Booz Allen. You played golf with him last week. That's why he's calling for you. Makes a difference. We take them bass fishing. We have an event around Father's Day, and this is not just for injured. This is for 200 OIF, OEF warriors, whether they're injured or not. We bring in professional bass fishermen. They bring in these big, beautiful boats. We partner them up with a guy. They get to go out on Diamond Valley Lake, and they get to go fishing. Had one warrior tell me, ma'am, I never fished when I had legs. I just caught an 8-pound bass without them. It makes a difference for the guys. It gets them out, and it gets them acclimated to being back in the community. So we also do events. The third thing we do, and I think this is the biggest thing, is we work very hard all year. We go to every event we can. We set up a booth. We sell t-shirts. We sell hats. But every penny goes right back to the guys. We work really hard. This year we handed out 323 small green cards, and the green card simply says, you're going to wake up in your own bed, in your own state, with your own family Christmas morning, and we send those single guys home for Christmas. And it's a wonderful thing when they go home. I don't know if it's Ma's good cooking or Dad telling them to knock on it, but when they come back, they're rearing to go for their therapy again. And that's our biggest honor for those guys. It's kind of like watching they're all at attention. You give them the card, and it's kind of like watching the wave, except they can't move. It's like electricity just goes through it. But they realize they get one convalescent leave. So when you get injured, you get one airplane ticket home from the government. After that, you're up there 2 to 4 years. It's your own dime. So they get to go home for Christmas. So it's a wonderful project, and we work on it really hard to make sure that they all do get home. If they have families here, then of course, we're very protective of our donors' money. We're not going to send this guy to Hawaii for a vacation. But if he is a single warrior and needs to go home, and this goes on all year long, this warrior may need to go home for a family reunion or a wedding or maybe a funeral or his buddy's funeral. We help support those warriors that are in need all year long. So it's not just Christmas, but that's our big push at Christmas. So that's our third group of warriors that we work with. Those are the guys that are up at the barracks area. From working with these three groups, we started hearing about a place called Freedom Station. And I kept telling the guys, just like with the razors, tell me more, tell me more. And basically what they said was, when we come to the decision with the command that we are no longer going to be able to stay in the military service, that's a bad day for us. They know it's coming, but it's a bad day when they know they can't be a Marine, a sailor, or a soldier anymore. And so what they said to me is, why should we, after we know that, have to keep living in the barracks as a Marine, sailor, or a soldier? Why can't we start living as a civilian? And I thought about that for a while. Well, they still have about a year to go after they're told and they make that decision that they're not going to be in the military. So they've still got a military paycheck coming, but why shouldn't we move them out into town where they can be together, very close to the hospital? The government bus can come and pick them up in the morning, the amputees, and take them up to the hospital. They do their government stuff, they do their medical stuff, and then they come home at night, just like you or I get up and go to a job. Except they're getting up at 4:30, strapping on legs, going and do their stuff, and then coming home. And I thought about this. They would have a paycheck coming in, and then when they got their last paycheck, they get their DD 214, and let's say they get their last paycheck in August. Well, you would hope that in September, their VA check, their Social Security, their GI, all of the retirement money, and these are medically retired warriors, even at 22, all of that money would kick right in September. There can be a 6-month delay for these guys. VA, 6-month delay, up to, it was longer than that at the beginning of the war, gap before they would get that paycheck. Well, if you've got a link where you're not getting any money for 6 months, guess what? Your PTSD kicks in, your TBI kicks in, you're financially strapped. You're going a direction as a country that we do not want our warriors going. So if we can get them into Freedom Station and continue to pay the mortgage on our location, keep them solvent, keep them going, and wait for that check to come in, they will pay us back at that time. And we do charge a little bit of rent. We opened December 2010, and this is our location. It's 8 little cottages and 4 apartments, and we are the gap. We fill that link that I think has been missing since Vietnam. So I'm going to send this around just so you can see them. They're kind of pretty. And I think our guys deserve that. I think they deserve a cottage with everything in it, right down to the placemats on the tables when they move in. I want them to walk in, drop their sea bag, and go, wow. It teaches them how to live. It teaches them how to exist in a community. And it gives them that time that they need while they're still active duty and now just beginning to live as a civilian. It gives them about a year to 2 years to acclimate and become a Mr. or a Mrs. And I truly believe that when these warriors, we've had a great success rate. We have guys going to USD, National University, and I have to share a real quick story. Southwest Junior College is a lifesaver for us. We had one warrior in particular. He moved in, didn't tell us he was having financial problems. He was living at Freedom Station. When we finally figured out what was going on, he had to give up his acceptance at Pasadena College. He had to give up living with his roommate that he was all set to go for, and he told me he had to leave Freedom Station at the end of the month. Had he left, he'd have been living in his truck. He is not. Freedom Station met, we had an emergency board meeting, we covered everything. The day before classes started at Southwest College, we took him out to Jim Jones, who is the head of the VA group at Southwest College. And I don't know if you've ever filled out college applications, but in one day, he was in, he had his classes, he had his books, and he started college the next day. We've covered all of his bills. He will continue to live in his cottage with his service dog, Bonnie, who is a great, big, huge something, but keeps him happy. And he is doing very well. The PTSD didn't kick in, and he did not go in a direction behavior-wise that we do not want to have to deal with for the rest of his life. So that's the link that's been missing, in my opinion. We keep saying the VA is not working, but we keep trying to make it work. I'm saying, just like on a computer keyboard, when you hit the same button 80 times and nothing changes, we as civilians can do this. This is America. We can make a cottage, a boot, a razor. We can make that happen for our guys. And with your help, we will continue to do this. So I'm going to pass this around. There you go. Stuff back here. I think they're two different pictures, aren't they? Yeah, I think so. I wanted to take down the white picket fences that are around each cottage because I said it'll give everybody more room in the courtyard. I didn't know Marines were really territorial. Okay, we'll leave the white fences, you know. So I think that, pardon me, this is located, do you know where the hospital is? The question was, where is this located? The hospital, there's a golf course. Right behind the golf course is called Golden Hills. That's where we're located. And you know what's interesting? When the guys first move into the cottages, they don't want to touch anything because it's all pretty. Okay? Well, as soon as you see the Marine flag go up on the wall, you know they're home. But what we didn't anticipate is the neighborhood that this is in. They even know there's 2 restaurants, 2 barber shops, a Starbucks, 7-Eleven, a little post office. The Starbucks knows when Gunny gets up to have his caramel macchiato extra shot and his oatmeal ready. The neighborhood has totally embraced our guys. So there is a need for a second location. We are working on a second location. And just so you know, there is going to be a big emphasis on the women Marines and sailors that need our help. And the second location we are hoping will be for the ladies, for the women. We have married couples living at Freedom Station. They're doing very well. But here's where we make a big difference. We give them that chance. Well, there's 6-month delay. We got them covered. We've got their backs, and they're doing very, very well. I know I'm out of time here. Are there any quick questions? I don't want to hold you guys up. Again, there's flyers on the back table. We have a website that you can go to. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to stick around in the back too. The big beautiful blankets we give out at Christmas for the guys. And again, any support or help, we're going to make a difference, just like the razors and the boots. Thank you.
Tell us how.
Well, one thing our boys really like is big American